The library was quiet, the soft hum of the fluorescent lights filling the room as Arman stared at his textbooks, his mind too worn out to focus. It had been another long day of juggling his part-time job at the campus cafe and keeping up with endless assignments. The words on the pages seemed to blur together, and his eyelids grew heavier with each passing minute. He rubbed his eyes, trying to shake off the exhaustion, but it was useless. The constant pressure to perform and to prove himself had taken its toll. He looked around, seeking a distraction from the textbooks, which felt more like burdens than guides to knowledge. Then he heard it, soft, almost musical. A laugh that broke the room's stillness. It was coming from a small group of students at a nearby table. One of them, a girl, had laughed in a way so genuine and light that it stood out amidst the usual silence in the library. Arman couldn't help but notice. She looked up as if sensing his attention, just as their eyes met briefly. He quickly looked away, embarrassed by the unexpected connection. But the feeling lingered, a strange mix of curiosity and something more, something he couldn't name. Little did he know, that fleeting glance would be the first step in a journey to challenge everything he thought he knew about himself and the world around him. Arman had always believed in hard work. Growing up in a modest neighborhood where everyone knew each other and survival was a daily challenge, he understood the value of effort and sacrifice. His father ran a small grocery store, working long hours to provide for their family. Arman had always admired his father's determination, but it also meant that the weight of responsibility rested on his shoulders from a young age. College was supposed to be his escape, a chance to build a better future. But reality was far more complicated. Balancing his studies with his job at the campus cafe was draining. Every day felt like a race against time. Arman would spend hours studying, trying to stay ahead in class, only to return to the cafe to serve coffee, where his exhaustion was barely hidden behind a smile. Some nights, he could scarcely keep his eyes open, but he had no choice but to push forward. He had to succeed, for himself and his family. Despite the overwhelming pressure, Arman never complained. His professors saw him as a hardworking, quiet student. Few knew about his long hours in the cafe or the subtle prejudice he faced in his classes. Trust didn't come quickly to Arman. He'd learned that opening up often led to disappointment, and vulnerability brought nothing but pain. But there were moments when he wished for something more. A reason to believe that his sacrifices might one day pay off. And then, as if by fate, Claire entered his life. The university library had always been a place of comfort for Arman. The chaos of his life left him few places to find peace. The rows of bookshelves stretched high, filled with knowledge that offered him a temporary escape from his struggles. The quiet hum of the heating system and the sound of pages turning were familiar, like a gentle rhythm that calmed his mind. Most nights, the library was empty, except for a few late-night studiers. But tonight was different. The group study session in the corner filled the space with quiet chatter. Arman could hear snippets of conversation, but his focus remained on his notes. He sat near the window, the soft light from the street lamps casting a gentle glow across his desk. As always, he tried to ignore the distractions, immersing himself in the pages of his textbook. And then there was that laugh again. The same light, melodic sound that seemed to warm the room. It was Claire. She was sitting across from him, working with a few classmates. Her presence was simple but somehow captivating. Arman had noticed her before, but something about her seemed different tonight. The way her eyes sparkled when she laughed, the kindness in her smile. It was difficult not to feel drawn to her. He tried to focus on his work, but part of him couldn't help but wonder who she was and her story. Little did he know that curiosity would soon lead him down a path he hadn't expected. Arman was about to turn the page in his textbook when he heard a soft voice beside him. "Mind if I sit here?" Startled, he saw Claire standing beside his desk, her books held under one arm. She offered him a friendly smile, her presence somehow calming. For a moment, Arman didn't know what to say. He had never been adept at starting conversations, especially with someone like Claire, who seemed effortlessly confident. "Sure," he managed to say, clearing his throat. Claire flashed him another warm smile as she settled into the seat across from him. "You're in my philosophy class, right?" she asked, breaking the silence between them. Her voice was gentle, but her question was enough to draw him out of his shell. "Yeah, that's me," Arman replied, feeling more at ease. What began as a simple exchange of study tips became a deeper conversation. They discussed their classes, interests, and soon, their lives. Claire opened up about the pressure she felt, trying to meet the expectations of her conservative family, and Arman found himself sharing his struggles. The weight of his responsibilities, the late nights, and the feeling of always being just one step behind. For the first time in a long while, Arman felt heard. Claire's eyes were not judgmental but understanding. She didn't see the exhausted student or the son of immigrant parents. She saw him. And that feeling of being indeed seen was something Arman hadn't experienced in a long time. That evening, as the library lights flickered overhead, something shifted. Their quiet bond was undeniable, but neither could have known that this conversation would start something much bigger. After that first conversation, things between Arman and Claire changed. They began meeting regularly at the library, sometimes to study and other times to talk. Their conversations flowed easily, covering everything from their struggles to their shared dreams. Claire became a constant source of comfort for Arman, a reminder that he wasn't alone in his fight. She understood his world burden like no one else. For Arman, Claire was more than just a friend. She convinced him, if only temporarily, that life was more than work and pressure. She encouraged him to dream bigger, to see past the barriers that had always defined his life. And in return, Arman found himself offering Claire the same support. He helped her know that she didn't have to meet everyone's expectations and that it was okay to be herself. But their bond didn't go unnoticed. Whispers began to spread. Some students shot them curious glances when they studied together, while others openly questioned the nature of their relationship. Arman's family, rooted deeply in tradition, expressed their concern. They didn't understand why he spent so much time with someone outside their community. Claire faced similar resistance from her parents, who warned her about the consequences of a friendship with someone so different. Despite the pressure, neither of them backed down. In fact, the challenges only strengthened their connection. They found strength in one another's presence, a quiet rebellion against the world that seemed determined to keep them apart. Arman realized that for the first time in his life, he wasn't just surviving. He was beginning to live, because of Claire. One evening, as they sat together in the library, studying quietly, a fellow student snapped a photo of them. Arman had no idea the picture had been taken until the following day when he saw it shared on social media. The image showed them deep in conversation, their heads bent close together, a moment of connection frozen in time. The caption read, "Breaking barriers, one conversation at a time." At first, it seemed harmless, but the photo quickly went viral. Comments flooded in from every direction. Some supportive, others harsh and critical. Some praised them for challenging social norms, while others judged them for stepping outside the lines. "Why does it matter who we talk to?" Claire had asked, reading some of the comments aloud. But Arman could see how much the attention was affecting her. They felt the weight of being in the spotlight for the first time. Their private connection suddenly became public. With it came admiration and harsh judgment. Strangers contacted them, sharing their stories of struggling with societal expectations. Some saw hope in their story, while others accused them of deception. Despite the criticism, Arman and Claire felt solidarity in the support they received. Their relationship had become a symbol, one that people looked to for hope. But with this new attention came more pressure, questions, and the sense that their love was now part of a larger narrative. Though initially overwhelmed, they leaned on each other more than ever. Together, they found the courage to stand tall against the scrutiny, believing in the power of their connection to challenge the divisions others tried to impose on them. Months had passed since that viral photo, and Arman and Claire had weathered the storm together. The pressure from family and peers continued, but their bond strengthened. They had learned to navigate the challenges, always supporting each other through the tough moments. And now, standing together at a community event, speaking about inclusion and understanding, they felt more confident than ever of their purpose. The crowd was whole of people who had come to hear their stories and learn how love and connection could break down walls. Claire stepped up to the microphone first, her voice steady and straightforward as she addressed the audience. "We're not just here to tell our story," she began. "We're here to remind everyone that true, honest love can break down even the highest walls." Arman stood beside her, his heart swelling with pride. He had never imagined their journey would lead them here, to a place where they could inspire others. The applause that followed was overwhelming, and for a moment, he let himself believe that all the struggles they had faced had been worth it. As they walked off the stage, hand in hand, Arman looked at Claire and smiled. "We're just getting started," he said, his voice full of hope. The applause echoed in their hearts as they left the stage, not as two individuals, but as a symbol of resilience and the power of love. They knew their journey was far from over, but they had already made a difference. Together, they had shown that even in the darkest of nights, stars could shine the brightest. The crowd was whole of people who had come to hear their stories and learn how love and connection could break down walls. Claire stepped up to the microphone first, her voice steady and straightforward as she addressed the audience. "We're not just here to tell our story," she began. "We're here to remind everyone that true, honest love can break down even the highest walls." Arman stood beside her, his heart swelling with pride. He had never imagined their journey would lead them here, to a place where they could inspire others. The applause that followed was overwhelming, and for a moment, he let himself believe that all the struggles they had faced had been worth it. As they walked off the stage, hand in hand, Arman looked at Claire and smiled. "We're just getting started," he said, his voice full of hope. The applause echoed in their hearts as they left the stage, not as two individuals, but as a symbol of resilience and the power of love. They knew their journey was far from over, but they had already made a difference. Together, they had shown that even in the darkest of nights, stars could shine the brightest.